students. Right, good evening. So it's been quite a while since my last class. So the last class I had was about in May. So I was busy and I didn't have time to prepare slides for the lessons. So last week I had a class. Okay, I had a class which is in BM, right, in the Academy Tutor. Okay, all right. Thank you very much for watching. I do not know how many are watching, and I hope that today's lesson will be able to guide you. So today, for this year, SPM 2025, I am taking the approach of doing topical questions. So from the past few years, I've noticed that this topic, which is the chapter 14 of Form 4, that is the locomotion and support, or rather support and locomotion, has appeared in the paper in about, let's say, for the past few years, actually. Okay, so and more or less, I would like to expose the students, that means you, how to answer questions if these questions ever came up. Okay, so I will get right down to business. Yeah, okay, so I hope that if you're watching, you'd like to let me know who you are. Just type into the comment box here, say hi, and I'll be able to see your name. All right, okay, so I'm going to add my slide to the screen. All right, okay, so this year, this is the approach I'm taking, which is topical. Okay, so for those who are watching or taking your SPM in BM, no problem. My slides are always in dual language for the technique in Java or answering techniques. And today I'm choosing this topic, chapter 14, which is called support and locomotion. All right, okay, so let's start with my first question. So I'll start with the easier ones, which is the structural questions. Then I'll proceed on to the difficult one, the more difficult one, which is the essay. Okay, so structure questions. All right, diagram 1 shows the anatomy of the human elbow. Okay, so this is the human elbow, and this is the diagram that will normally show you if this is the elbow. So here you will see that many parts are given label. So what you need to do is, in the first place, you must be able to name all the parts here. Okay, all the parts here, some are muscles, some are actually a ligament, tendon, and of course there are 3 bones shown here. You should be able to answer what is bone A, bone B, and bone C. So if you would like to let me know, probably you already have the answer. Maybe I'd like to ask, what is the bone A? What is the name of bone A, bone B, and bone C? Or rather, you can like to choose any label to answer, right? You can give me S or you can give me T. All right, okay. So if you would like to let me know whether you know this already, just type into the comment here and let me know what you think A, B, C, and S and T stand for, and also muscle P. Okay. So anyway, your response might be a bit slow. All right. So I will carry on ahead with the question first. So here's the question again. So first of all, they always ask you, the simplest question is always the name. Okay, name. So if it's name, the easiest question. Okay, so tissue S. So tissue S, you can see it's labeled white color here. And it's very obvious that this tissue S is connecting the muscle here, you see this muscle here, to the bone. Okay, so let me label this. All right, this is the muscle, all right? And this is the S, which is labeled white here, and it's connecting the muscle to the bone. All right, okay. And next question, what type of joint is this? Okay, type of joint is, there are 3 types of joint, right? Okay, we have the immovable joint. That means they cannot move at all. Then you will have the slightly movable, and also you'll have the freely movable. All right, and specifically, what is the type of joint for this elbow? Okay, I see some response here. All right, JP. S is tendon, T is ligament. Okay, very good. Okay, now so S is tendon for sure, right? So remember, tendon actually is the tissue that connects the muscle to the bone. So if you see that muscle is connecting to the bone through this tissue, it has to be the tendon. Okay, so S comes in a later question. So S is ligament. That is correct. Sorry, your T, yeah, T is the ligament. You know why you know it's a T? Because T is connecting bone to bone. So T is the tissue that connects bone to bone, and that is the ligament. Okay, what about the type of joint? JP, what type of joint is this? What is the name of this type of joint? before I show you the answer. Okay, what type of joint is this? This is a freely movable joint. Yeah? You're able to move or articulate the part of your body, and the movement is quite unlimited. Of course, there is a limit to all your movement, but it's much better compared to your immovable joints and the slightly movable ones. Okay, so what is this? So, okay, so I think I'll give you the answer, or you will not wait for the answer. So this type of joint is called the hinge joint. Okay, hinge joint allows movement only in one direction or one plane. That means either you fold it this way and that's it. You can't fold it the other way. For example, you can't bend your elbow backwards. Okay, you can't fold your ulna and radius to the back. Okay, you can't extend your arm to the back. Okay, so this is hinge joint. Okay, next question. State two characteristics of tissue S that enables it to function efficiently. So we want the characteristic. All right, you have already labeled, we have already named the S, which is tendon. But what is the characteristic? So characteristic is referring to the adjective. Is it strong? Is it soft? Is it flexible? And so on. Okay, so what is the answer for this? So there is a simple way I would like you to learn how to remember the characteristics of tendon and ligament. Okay, if for those who have watched my video, in my lesson on chapter 14, okay, you can see in my library there a lot many videos. On one of the lessons, I explained and taught those who are watching how to remember the characteristic of tendon and ligament. Okay, so always remember, you see you have 2 marks here. 2 marks here means we require 2 points. Okay, so the answer here is actually tough. All right, strong. Tough and strong has the same meaning. Okay, and another answer is it is inelastic. Okay, then I always have students asking me, teacher, how to remember elastic or inelastic? Okay, now first of all, what's the meaning of elastic? Elastic actually means it is stretchable. You can pull it when you apply force, the length becomes longer. Okay, it can be stretched just like your rubber band. But the important thing to remember is if it's elastic, if you let go, it will be able to come back to its original length. Okay, but if you stretch it and it doesn't come back to original length when you let go, it's not considered elastic. Okay, understand that? Sometimes your plastic, right? The plastic bag, you stretch it and it becomes all distorted. It becomes longer and out of shape. But if you let go, it doesn't go back to normal. That is not the meaning of elastic. So if it's elastic, it must be able to return to its normal length or the original length when you let go or you remove the force. Okay, so here this is inelastic. Now, how to remember? Okay, so I'm going to give you a simple way of remembering. So remember this TILE, tile, like in Jubin. Yes, good. JP, very good. You must have watched my video, or maybe your teacher in school taught you this also, right? So tile actually means T is for tendon, I is for inelastic, L for ligament, and E is elastic. That means your tendon is always inelastic. That means when you stretch, you can't stretch your tendon actually. Your tendon cannot become longer and it will not become shorter. I'll go back to tendon, you can't stretch. But ligament you can. When you pull it, it becomes a little bit longer. When you let go, it goes back to normal length. That is ligament and that is elastic. Okay, so remember TILE, which is tendon, inelastic, ligament is elastic. Okay, simple. Okay, now next question. So if you have any questions, any JP and any one of you, just type into the chat box here and I should be able to answer you. I hope to be able to answer you. All right. Okay, now next question. Based on diagram 1, explain the function of tissue S in the flexing of the arm. Okay, flexing is the movement of actually pulling the the limbs, all right, upwards. Or in the end, we say pembengkokkan. You bengkokkan. Bengkok means you bend it. You bend it is called flexing. The same meaning of bend is flex. Okay, the opposite of flex is extend or straighten. So flex sounds a little bit more technical. It actually means bending. So if you want to bend your arm, all right, so what is the function of S? Okay, So if you already have your answer, please type in. I can check, and you can also actually assess how much you know, and I can straight away I can correct it for you. I'll tell you, okay, you're getting how many marks? Okay, this point, what mark? This point cannot. This is wrong. This is right. Okay, if you want to check yourself, please just type, and I'll be able to answer you. Okay, so no response yet, so I'll go on with the answer. So you need to have 2 points again because you have 2 marks for this question. So the first thing here is you will see that the S is connecting your muscle to the bone. So what is the purpose of doing that? Okay, because muscle is contracting. So when it contracts, it will be able to transfer the pulling force. Muscle always move organs by pulling. Okay, muscle cannot push. Muscle cannot do anything else except contract and relax. When it relaxes, it means it lets go. It goes back to the original length, and it lets it sort of like lets go the force. Okay, so it there's no other force. There's no force that pulls the organ. So when it pulls the organ, which is actually the bone here, bone B, it pulls up. So transfer is to allow the force to be able to pull up the bone. Okay, so the correct word to say is to transfer or to transmit the pulling force to bone B so that bone B will be able to move upwards. Okay, to lift the bone up. And that bone, do you know what that bone is? What is the bone B? Now, please don't say bone C or bone A. It has to be specific because your S, the one that is connecting to the bone to pull the arm up, is actually bone B. Okay, so the bone has to be specific here. So don't have to say, you cannot say any other bone. All right, so what bone is that? That is actually the radius. The radius is the smaller, the thinner one, which is actually at the top, on the top. So imagine if you are extending your arm to shake somebody's hand. The bone that is on the upwards, right, the one facing up, that is the radius. And the one at the bottom is actually ulna. And ulna, you can see, is larger, is thicker, bigger. All right, that is the ulna. And that affords the socket for the bone from the humerus to go inside. That is the ulna. Okay, next question. In a weightlifting tournament, Samad dislocated his elbow. Okay, so imagine this boy. This picture shows you the elbow. So dislocated his elbow. All right. So what is the meaning of dislocation actually? First of all, before we say dislocation, what tissue is affected by a dislocation? Dislocated actually means, you know the word location? Location means the placing. So dislocation means it's out of place. The bone has been moved out of place by force. So sometimes too much force, right? When you carry something, or you, if it happens in your ankle, all right, you hit the ball and all that, it can also happen at your ankle. So that actually, the force is so strong, it went the opposite way, right? And then it pulled the bone out of the socket. That is called dislocation. All right. Yes, good. Correct. Ligament is affected. Correct, JP. Ulna is the one that is at the bottom, JP. So the one you're talking about, bone B, is actually the radius. Radius is on top. Ulna is the one that's at the bottom. Okay, so you have to be specific lah, because when you pull up your arm, you're actually pulling up the this one, the radius. Okay, to pull up your arm. Okay, which tissue is affected? It is the ligament. Correct. Ligament is the one that holds the bones together, that keeps the bone together in the place. So if the ligament is, if there's dislocation, that means the bone is out of place. So it actually, the ligament is like, cannot hold the bone together. It has been moved out of place. Okay, my second question, all right, C2, connected to the same question, right? So explain what happens during dislocation of the elbow joint. So what actually happens during dislocation? Okay, in DM we call it kehilangan. So I couldn't find a picture of the elbow to show the dislocation. So I found a picture that is referring to dislocation of the phalanx. You know phalanx? finger bone. Okay, so you will see here there's a dislocated joint here. You can see very clearly that the bone is out of place. Okay, and you need immense force to be able to do that. Okay, sometimes you carry so much weight, right? And you didn't do the proper way, right? It's sort of like pull it out of the place, and it's very painful. I can assure you it's very, very painful. Okay, more painful than a sprain, right? Okay, so answer, right? The ends of the bones, or just you can say ends is bracketed, you don't really need the words. The bones are forced out of their normal position. Okay, or we say separation of the bones occur at the joint. Separation of the bones. Okay, it's not bone broken, so don't say the bone is broken. You say bone is broken or fractured is wrong. That is not dislocation. Dislocation is an injury that happens at the joint. Okay, not on the entire bone itself. Not the bone, not blunt force is put onto the bone. That is maybe fracture. Your bone crack. That is called crack. But this is not crack. The bone supposed to be held at the correct place. It just got, pulled away. So second point, right? You need 2 points. Now, how did it happen? Due to extreme force exerted on the ligament. Okay, too much force, and that force is pulling the bone away from the normal bending of the joint. Okay, next, causes pain, causes swelling. Is normal. You can see the red part here is already swollen. Right. So sometimes you have to think. The 2 marks, I need to have 2 things to say. I need to write 2 things. So these are the things that you can write. Most importantly is your P1. You have to explain what happens during dislocation, which is you must have your P1. And then an additional point to support your answer, you can have a P2 or a P3. Okay, all right. So I hope that helps you to prepare yourself in case any question on dislocation comes up. All right, okay. Right, next question. Okay, all right. What precaution can an athlete take to minimize the injury during sports? Okay, minimize. I'm sure you always know that when you do your PJ, your physical education, there's always a step the teacher asks you to do, and normally you will come around in a circle, and you sort of like round up in a circle, and there's a leader in front there and guides the rest of you doing all these steps. Okay, what is that? Anybody? Okay, so I think JP is only JP is here. Okay, so far it's fine. All right, probably many of you will probably watch my video later, right? So normally they are not free. It's no problem. You can watch it anytime. Click on the link. You can get it. You can get it anytime. All right. So the precaution is you always do. All right. Okay. Bye bye, JP. I'll see you hopefully another lesson. Right. Okay. So the lesson, I mean the steps that you normally do, before PJ or any exercise is you will carry out warming up exercises, or we say stretching. So it can be stretching, it can be warming up. All right. Now, the next question. This is what you do lah. This is all these simple exercises. So actually, when you do warming up, you make your ligaments more flexible. That's not the only method. That's not the only way. There are many other helpful benefits that warming up can give your body. Okay, next question. Now, explain how does warming up, the step mentioned in D1 is warming up, help to minimize the injury. Okay, so how does it help to minimize? So I already mentioned just now, one of it is to make the ligaments more flexible, or your joints, so that you do not hurt yourself. Okay, like dislocation and all that. So you do not, it makes it more flexible, so you're able to do the action and without hurting yourself. Okay, answer. There are many answers. I have 5 answers here. You can just give me any 2. So when you do warming up, you're actually increasing the breathing rate. Okay, you start to warm up. When you warm up, you breathe a little bit faster. All right, you inhale more oxygen. So the word oxygen more is important, because if you don't do warming up exercises, you still inhale oxygen. Okay, it's not wrong. But when you do warming up, you will increase the breathing rate. Therefore, you take in more oxygen. So the more here is important. Okay, you have to put more. If you don't put more, it means that only when you warm up, you take oxygen. When you don't warm up, you don't take oxygen. That's wrong. Okay, that's wrong. Okay, P2, it increases the heartbeat rate. So when your heart beats faster, your heart beats faster is to uh, transmit or to transport more oxygen, because your red blood cells are the ones that carry the oxygen. Okay, so again, more oxygen. If you're not sure whether to put more or not to put, it's better that you put more. Okay, lebih banyak. Because if you do not do the warming exercises, you still transport oxygen to your body cells. When you do this, you transport even more. Okay, right. Now increase blood flow. All right, so that when you move to all these movements, it will increase the blood flow. Your blood supply will increase to supply oxygen, and also not oxygen only, it is also nutrient. You are transporting blood that contains glucose to your body cells, so that your body can use the glucose and the oxygen to carry out cellular respiration. So that would be the next point. It also increases the cell metabolism. Your cells will be breaking down the glucose at a faster rate to produce more energy for your body to use. Okay? Besides that, it also increases the body temperature. The purpose is to increase the cell metabolism. Okay, one more. It also increases the flexibility. This is what I mentioned earlier, right? Just now when I was talking about this question, it increases the flexibility so that you will prevent or you will minimize your risk of injury, reduce the risk of injury. Okay, so any 2 points. If you see your question requires 3 marks, then you write 3. All right, okay, so you don't need to copy now, right? You can watch the video again, pause it, then write down your points. Okay, next. So any 2 points here if the question requires 2 marks. Okay, now we look at the essay question. Okay, today's class won't be very long. I want to make it short and sweet, right? So that you don't get too bored. Sometimes some people say, oh, the video is too long, 1 hour is like, too boring. So I want to make it short, but impactful, all right? Okay, now this is 2 types of bones are found in the human skeletal system. Okay, so the diagram is not drawn to scale. That means you cannot compare side by side. Maybe one of it is larger, one of it is smaller. Okay, so the one on X actually is smaller. The one on the Y is actually bigger, but you can't see from the diagram here because I know because of the magnification and all that, it looks like almost the same. All right, now then label some names: spinous process, transverse process. Okay, this is the similar parts of both the bones, but you can see that the size is different. That is where lies the differences. They have both, right? But the difference in the size, all right, in the shape and so on. Okay, so what's the question? A1. They want you to, first of all, state the function of the human skeletal system. So why do we have bones, in other words? Why do we need bones? All right, we are human with the endoskeleton. Our bones, our skeletal system is inside the body, endoskeleton. So what do we need it for? Okay, 2 marks. So 2 points. All right, 2 points. So very simple lah. You learned it before, right? Very simple. Now, first of all, is to protect internal organs. For example, the rib cage. We have a rib cage. Inside the rib cage, we have the heart. We have the important organs like the lungs, all right, and liver. So that is to protect from blunt force, from injury. When someone hits you or pats you on the back, right? You don't want to be patted on. You don't want the force to be transmitted to your lungs, right? The lungs are delicate alveolus, and also these are what we call capillary blood capillaries. They can break. Okay. 2, enable movement. Why are we able to move our arms up? Because there's a bone inside there that allows the bone to be lifted. So when it is lifted, your arm is also moving at the same time. Okay, enable movement. And talk about the legs as well. Why are you able to walk? Because your muscles actually pull the bone, and the bone moves, so you move as well. Okay, next, maintains or retains the shape of the body. Yes, okay, without the bone, we are just like jellyfish, or squid, sotong, right? We are not able to stand up. We are just like a pile of octopus on the floor, right? Without the water buoyancy, if there's no water buoyancy, the octopus also will not be able to retain the shape So it's just like a block on the floor there. So we have bone so that we can stay upright, okay, retain the shape. Next, it also supports soft body tissues. So in our body, we have soft body tissues, we have membranes, we have all the skin, we have all these adipose tissue. Those are soft body tissues. Right? If we don't have the bone, we don't have the skeletal system, all of these things is all over the place. Okay. And number 5, this is for human only, not for all the others, general. This is specific. Our human bone, right, produces blood cells, including the red blood cell and the white blood cells, and also the platelets. And besides that, it also stores minerals. Okay, so any 2 from the 5. All right, okay, so memorize all this. These are all standard answers. If you ever do get asked a question, the function of the skeletal system for human, okay, all these can use. Even if it's not for human, then you use 2, 3, and 4, okay, or rather 3 and 4. Maintain the shape is important for all animals, right? It doesn't have to be human. So it has to be, even for hydrostatic skeletal system, because of the water, the pressure inside the body, it maintains the shape of the body. Okay, next, so any 2. Right, so we come back to this question where they asked you now to state the differences. Differences only, so when they're not asking you to compare and contrast, look carefully. If they want differences, that means you have to talk about what is different. No need to say what is the same. In physical characteristics, so when you talk about physical characteristics, that means in something that is physical, something referring to the structure. Okay, don't talk about the function. This X is to support the weight of the head on the neck. This X is on the neck. This is cervical actually, by the way. The Y is the thoracic vertebrae. It is to allow the rib cage to form the rib cage, right? To allow the articulation of the rib bones to the backbone. So don't talk about the function, because what we want is not the function. We want physical characteristic, something physical. What does it have? What this one has? What that one doesn't have? Okay, physical. So here, the best way to answer this is always to put in a table. Okay, always easier. If you want to compare, please write in table form. It's easier, and it also helps the permaxer, the marker, to see your answers. Okay, so it's no problem with of writing table. It doesn't mean that every answer you put in the essay has to be in a sentence form. No. All right. Now I put wrongly Q and R. Actually, it should be X and Y. Yeah. Okay. The Q referring to the one on the left, which is the X. This is a cervical. Okay. The R is a thoracic. So no need to mention the name, because they don't ask you for the name, right? Because they just want specifically the physical characteristic. You cannot say the first point is X is cervical vertebrae while R is thoracic vertebrae. No marks, because this is not a physical feature. They want you to say things like this. X has short spinous process. Not small, small is wrong. Okay, it's not the size. It is the length of the spinous process. Whereas for R, it has long spinous process, not big, not besar. If you want to write in sentence, you must write it like just now. X has short spinous process, while but Y has long spinous process. Okay, if you don't want to write it that way, you just write a table. Perfectly fine. Okay, next question. So talk about the transverse process. Transverse process is like the 2 wings at the side, at the side of the centrum, the wings. So for the X, it has wide and short, wide or short, right? Transverse process, not small. Small is not accepted. It's not the size of it that matters. It's the shape of it. Okay. Whereas for the thoracic vertebrae, it has a long transverse process, not big again. Right. Next, talk about the centrum. This one you can talk about the size, because centrum is either big or small. Okay, for the cervical vertebrae, it is small. It's the smallest out of your 33 bones there. Your cervical has a smaller centrum, with the atlas barely no centrum at all. The atlas is the first one. Okay, and then for the thoracic, Okay, the centrum is a bit bigger than the cervical, but it's still not the biggest, huh? There's another one. Okay, notice there's another one. Another one is called the lumbar, the one that is at the small of your back, that's the lower part. Okay, that one, that is the largest lumbar, largest centrum for all your the entire vertebral skeleton. All right, the vertebral system. So next one, what other things can you compare? You can compare the special two holes there. Don't say holes. You need to use a special name, which is X has transverse foramen. Okay, the two little lubang there is called the transverse foramen, while for R or for Y does not have transverse foramen. Okay, now this transverse foramen is important because it houses the blood vessel that goes up your brain to your head. All right, you have the carotid artery, it goes through this one, so it's very important. If you sever that, you potong that one, definitely die one. Right, there's a lot of blood gushing out from the neck here if it is ever severed. So it means diputuskan. All right, so that blood vessel is very important. It carries oxygenated blood to your brain. So without that, your brain cannot function. No oxygen. All right. So next, neural canal. The neural canal is the triangular, that hole that you see there. This is to put your uh, spinal cord. Okay. So for the left hand side, the one on the left, neural canal is large or triangle in shape. Whereas for the Y, the neural canal is small or circular in shape. Then you can see the shape is a bit round. Okay, one more. For the cervical vertebrae, there is no facet to articulate with the ribs. Articulate means is to connect. All right. So this is the, let's say, the bone, and then there's a place here. This is called a facet. Facet is a permukaan. So this is the bone here is to connect. It's called articulate. So here there is no such thing with the bone, the ribs, because your ribs don't come up from the neck. Your ribs come up from the spine at the thoracic region. Okay, there's no facet to articulate with the ribs, while for the thoracic vertebrae, it has facet to articulate with the ribs. Okay, so all these are the differences, the main and the major differences between these two. So remember how to answer this, because sometimes they can change any one of these bone. Now they ask you to compare your cervical and your lumbar. Also use the same method. Or they ask you to compare the thoracic and the lumbar. Also can. Okay, so remember your facts. Okay, question B. Let's go on to question B. All right, question B. Diagram 1.2 shows the diagram before and after an athlete has undergone weightlifting training for 3 months. Okay, block out your face. Okay, now before you can see the person a little bit more fat, right? And only able to lift a small load. That means not so heavy, right? You can see the muscle not so firm, not so, the biceps are not very bulky, right? But after 3 months of training, you will see the major difference. You can see the abs there, the six pack, then the biceps a bit more bulky. Okay, able to lift a heavier load. Okay, maybe let's say 50 kilo, right? Before that, maybe able to lift only 30 kilograms, right? Okay, what's the question? All right, the question here is, explain how the change in his bicep size. So talk about the bicep size. All this you must mention because it's mentioned in the question. They want you to explain this bicep size and the number of mitochondria. How does the change in these two things enable the athlete to lift a heavier weight than before training? What happened to the bicep size? What happened to the number of mitochondria? And how does it help this person to be able to lift something heavier after training? Okay, so first thing to talk about is your bicep size increases. You can see very clearly the bicep size is larger, right? Okay, why does it increase? Why does your bicep increase when you do training? It's because your training causes new muscle tissue or new muscle cells to be produced. You actually produce more muscle cells. So when your more muscle cells are produced, it makes the size of your muscle bulkier, bigger. All right, and Talk about the mitochondria. Mitochondria number, the number of mitochondria also increases. Okay, so when the mitochondria increases, so you can think of it as everything is connected. Mitochondria is for what? Mitochondria is to produce energy, right? Is to carry out cellular respiration. So when you got more mitochondria, that means you can carry out more cellular respiration. So cellular respiration increases, therefore more glucose is oxidized. You're able to convert more glucose at a higher rate into energy, produce more energy. So the next point is talking about energy. Okay, so the next one, because you already mentioned about the mitochondria and then the glucose, so more energy is produced because more glucose is oxidized. Okay, more glucose oxidized, therefore more energy is produced. And when you got more energy, your biceps can contract stronger. More contraction can occur. Okay, you can contract much better. You have more stronger force. More force is transferred to the radius by the tendon, not energy. Yeah, energy is different. So force is measured in Newton, right? And energy is measured in joule. So there are two different things. So we don't say more energies. You don't transfer energy. You transfer force. Okay, energy is produced by the cell. You don't transfer energy. Yeah, you transfer the force. Remember, there are two different things. And then that causes the radius to be pulled upwards, or the arm is bent, or it can lift up a heavier load. Okay, now arm is bent, not arm is moved. Arm doesn't move. Arm only goes up or goes down. That means bent, we call flex, or straighten or extended. You don't move the arm, right? Arm is bent. So not bergerak, wrong. Okay, so any 6 points, because this question is worth 6 points, 6 marks. Okay, all right. Okay, so nobody here. That's okay, all right. So I will carry on with the explanation. Now, second part of the question. An athlete is training for competition, right? During training, he injured his bicep muscle. Bicep not injured. So how does this affect his arm movement? So now the bicep is injured. Bicep is the one on top one, by the way. You can see the camera here. I'm showing my arm here. I don't have much bicep, okay? I don't go weightlifting. So this is the bicep, and the one at the bottom is the triceps. Okay, so they always work together. We should say antagonistically. When one contracts, the other one will relax. Okay, use all these words. Right? It can impress your marker. Say, oh, this person really knows your facts. All right. So, how does it affect movement of your arm when your tricep is injured? So remember that tricep is to pull up your arm. So we're talking about flexing. We're not talking about extending your arm. No, we're talking about flexing, because pulling up is what the bicep does. Tricep on the other hand, is actually extending. So tricep is for extension. Bicep is for flexion. Flexion is pulling up. Okay, so answer. Now, injured muscle is unable to carry out antagonistic action. So you use this word. Antagonistic means it cannot contract, and then the other one, this one cannot contract, it cannot relax. Okay, antagonistic action. So because this question talk about injury and all that, so remember, whenever you have a question that says, what happens if injury happens? What happens if something cannot happen? Okay, this thing is rosak, that part is rosak, this one is injured. Your answer must be negative in nature. It must sound negative. It cannot do what? Cannot do what? That is how you should answer it. It must be negative sounding. It should sound negative. So injured muscle is unable to carry out antagonistic action. Therefore, you cannot produce a force. The force is to pull. No force is produced. Again, not energy. Next one, no force is transferred. You cannot transfer this bicep, the force that is produced by the bicep, to your radius. Okay, so the radius cannot be pulled upwards. Arm cannot be lifted. Arm cannot be bent. Arm difficult to be bent. Weight cannot be lifted. Okay, so don't say move again. And also this one, don't say hand. Hand is different. Arm is this part, right? Hand is a different concept, right? Hand is the part you can. This one also can be the hand. Look at my palm. This one can also be a hand. So it's not talking about the hand. It's your arm. You're lifting your arm. You're bending your arm, not bending your hand. Understand? So hand is not accepted. Remember, what can be used, what cannot be used. That's why you are learning all this now. Okay, now last question, question C. All right, so question C, the diagram follows shows two diseases related to human musculoskeletal system. So it's given this word musculoskeletal, that means related to your muscles and your skeleton. So this one I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. This one is what disease? You can see very clearly the bone, the one on the left hand side, the density of bone is different. The one that has got disease, a lot of lubang there, a lot of holes there, very porous. The one on the right hand side, the disease Q causes the bone to be bent, curved. All right, the leg is curved. Okay, so question. Yeah, okay. Disease P usually occurs in women over 50 years old. This one you know lah. If you know 50 years old, it's mostly the the disease that people, advertisement ask you to drink milk one, make a lot of calcium one. And then disease Q occurs in children. Okay, compare and contrast between the two diseases. This one compare and contrast, you need to talk about similarity and differences together. Both, you have to write both. 6 marks. Okay, so 6 marks, sometimes people think, does it mean 3 and 3? 3 similarity and 3 differences? Not necessarily. Usually differences will have more. Similarity will have less. So as long as you have 1 or 2 points for similarity, you leave the other points for differences. You are not able to find 6 points or 5 points of similarity. Quite impossible. Sometimes you don't have so many. But mostly differences, you will have more. Okay, but at least you must have 1 similarity in order to get full marks. Okay, so this picture again. So let's look at it now. The name first. All right. Similarity first. Let's talk about similarity. Similarity, we put like this, both. Both are caused by lack of calcium or mineral calcium, okay, or phosphorus. Okay, so the similarity for both. Both are caused by lack of vitamin D. Okay, and then both bones break easily. Okay, both bones are weak. Okay, we don't accept both bones are related, both diseases are related to the muscle skeletal system. Wrong, because it's already in the question. The question already says both these are related to the human musculoskeletal. So don't repeat what's already given in the question. Okay, differences. Okay, differences. Since the name is not given, you can give a name. So this is osteoporosis. Disease P is osteoporosis, while disease Q is osteomalacia or rickets. Okay, so you can write in table form, again, no problem, or you want to write in sentence, you must compare point by point. If you say P is osteoporosis, Q must be the name of the disease. Don't talk about other things. Otherwise, it's kosong. Okay, 0. P, the people who have disease P will have a stooped posture, body posture. That means the person will, stoop lah, cannot stand up straight lah. Right? For Q, the knees are bent outwards, or you can bend inwards. It's not stooping. The person doesn't stoop. It is the legs are curved. The legs are bent, or the knees are bent. Okay, other differences. So for the P, caused by lack of estrogen. So specifically is estrogen, okay, or calcium or phosphorus or vitamin D. And then for the other one, for Q is specifically caused by calcium or phosphorus or vitamin D. Nothing to do with estrogen. Okay, D, disease P here is caused by or due to loss of bone mass. Why the person has this disease? Because you can see inside the bone here, very big lubang. Bone mass is low. It is very hollow, the bone, okay? Or density, low density of the bone, or bone become brittle, bone become more porous. Whereas for Q, it's actually the bones are softer. Nothing to do with the density of the bone. The bones are soft during the formation. The child probably gets less calcium, okay, or vitamin D. So lack of calcium will make the bones softer. So when the person grows, the weight is pressing onto the bone, and the bone cannot support. So that's why the bone curves. Okay, this is through growing up. So this Q, osteomalacia or rickets, is usually found in children. It must have happened during childhood. It cannot suddenly happen to adults. If it suddenly happens to adult, that one is osteoporosis can, because suddenly lack of estrogen in the hormone system, okay, in the endocrine system. that causes the woman cannot retain calcium in the bone. Okay, yeah. So 1S and 1D will be fine. That means if you're taking 1S, then the remaining 5 points must be from the D. That means there are differences. Okay, or it can be 2 S's, 2 similarity, and 4 differences. Also can. All right, okay, so that is what I have for you today. So you'll see that today my focus is on musculoskeletal system, one structure and one essay. All right, so I'm going to give you my Telegram we call contact lah, right? So username, so that if you would like to contact me, ask me questions, I'm more than willing to help you. Okay, I would like, if you want, just ask me. Right. So let me show you where is my okay. So this is my Telegram. Copy link address. Okay, yeah. So you can save it. All right, and then you can message me if you need help to explain certain questions. Right. If your teacher is not available, of course ask the teacher lah, right? Teacher is there to help you, the teacher. And also I'll give you my www my channel here. You will see there are many other resources, videos that I've produced much earlier. Okay, because in fact I started during the MCO to help students because we couldn't go to school, right? Okay, so I would like you to go through it if you need help. Okay, wait, there's my okay, you just click on the link lah. Okay, copy link. And here it is. Okay, right. Thank you very much. And I hope to see you another time. I can't say for sure, maybe the next Saturday or the next Saturday, because I need time to prepare my slides. Okay, right. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again. Bye bye, everyone, and good luck for your revision and, of course, your SPM. Okay, thank you. Bye bye. See you.